Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the MOP here on a Thursday morning. That's right, it's very foggy here in southwest Wisconsin. Visibility is getting better. Sun is starting to poke through. We should see temperatures with sunshine and everything else this rest of this week and a few more days, hopefully, of anywhere from 80 to mid-70s. So it's going to be a beautiful week here in southwest Wisconsin. Weekend is going to be phenomenal, as always. So, can we get on track? I just saw a government employee talking about how if Charlie Kirk was back when Jesus was around, he would have been the 13th disciple. Really? That he was that godly, that he would have been noticed and taken. Can we quit doing this? Quit trying to interject. Quit trying to put people holier than thou. Quit trying to judge where people are going to be. None of us know any of that, but I guarantee you that he would have not been a 13th. There would have not been Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Charlie. Okay? The Bible is written. The Bible is there. Let's quit trying to interject on who would be where. And then as far as people should be allowed to say, that, and from what I've seen posted, minus a few people videoing themselves dancing and everything else that Charlie died, most are saying that he didn't deserve to die. Most are agreeing nobody should have been assassinated or killed the way he was. However, they are questioning his character. What are we firing people for over that? And then they're bringing it to school. Are they doing this? The parent I saw on the news program this morning in the school board meeting was standing in front of a microphone, reading everything he wanted to read, saying how this teacher needed to be fired because he's bringing stuff into the classroom, yada, yada. And he gets onto a big rampage of yelling, screaming, and then flips off the whole school board. What do you think that does to your kid? What kind of image are you portraying to your kid? It's okay to go to a school board and flip them off and tell them to F you and you need to get rid of this because they're influencing my child in a negative way. What the hell did I just witness then? When you go on your little rampage and you flip off the whole board while you're on national TV or local television, I guess, but the clip's going to go national. It'll go viral probably, because it's absolute asinine. But then you see the next guy come in and say, hey, I don't agree with what he did. And he's very calm and collective and gives all his viewpoints. Who are you listening to as a school board? You're going to listen to somebody that says, hey, yeah, I don't think that what he did was appropriate. And quite honestly, it was on his own page. It wasn't on a school page. It was on his private page. Kind of like what I do here. I guess you could call Jacob and say, hey, Chris needs to be fired for what he says on his little program. You can do that. What the guy said, was it ill-timed? Maybe. Was it inappropriate? I don't know. He's okay to voice his opinion that he doesn't think Charlie Kirk is this godly figure or this holier than thou person. He's allowed to do that. We have other people influencing kids, such as our president, such as anybody in government, parents. We end up with kids a lot of times that use drugs, sleep, or whatever. Where do they learn that from? A lot of times, if you look at home, I'm guessing that's part of it. Probably a lot of them living in not very good conditions, unsanitary conditions, hell holes, whatever it might be. A lot of kids are getting beat by their parents. Where do we cross the line of, well, a teacher voiced their opinion on their own page, but then you come to a school board meeting and you read your list off your phone, and then you get pissed off enough that on camera they got to blur out both fingers as you're flipping off the school board. You just invalidated everything you said because the school board went, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that guy. Do some of these people deserve to be fired? No. Is there some corrective measure, such as sitting them down, talking to them, coaching sessions? Maybe. Most likely. I would agree, yes. Is there a policy written that they have to follow that your posts will have to be this, this, and this, and you're signing it off? Is there protocols and procedures? Or is it just because somebody says they need to be fired, you're firing them because you're going to follow somebody that has way more influence that may affect your funding for your school, or they're threatening that, or they're threatening to sue you? You know, if you look at the Jimmy Kimmel thing, now Donald Trump is pissed off because, well, he did a great job by getting rid of him at first, but now they're bringing him back. Well, obviously, they're overlooking his talent or the ratings, because his ratings were terrible, his talent's terrible. Now, I think somebody was worried about the influence. And then to make the statement of, well, they paid me $16 million last time, I think it's going to be a lot more this time. See, this is where we're falling into the problem, where rich people will start controlling what takes place. And yes, it's happened all the time. I know. Happens in small time. You know, it's kind of like now in Richland Center, they're battling over Story Field, the green space of Richland Center. The place where kids can go fly kites and run around. And if you've ever been to Story Field, it's the size of a football field, okay? So a guy is promising to build 8-unit housing, so duplexes, I believe, for 8 units, and people are absolutely having a fit. Do I understand the fit? No. It's a historic portion in Story Field, I get it. But if you bought a house around Story Field, or you're around Story Field, what happened to the old schools in town, or, you know, any of the old buildings that may have sentimental value to somebody? The green space argument to me doesn't quite work. Would I rather see good housing? Would I rather see taxes being paid? They have a right to sell Story Field for $1. Okay? Anybody, well, they could get a lot more. No. And no. You have to take time to really think about what's going on in that argument. And then, of course, supposedly they're having now a secret meeting where they're going to ambush everybody, and, oh, it's crazy. I get it. Story Field is Story Field, yes. Some of my family members, some of their family played on Story Field. They played football on Story Field. I get it. But we don't want housing by us. Well, if you go up by Story Field, they're stacked in there like cordwood anyway. But you're going to take away my kid's sledding hill. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Yeah? Maybe. Is that why you bought your house where it is? Because of this nice field there? What if the school or the county did something or the city does something with it to where you can't use it for that anymore? Now they're pissed off at the city. They're pissed off at city council, but yet they're pissed off because there's not a lot of places for people to live. So now you got a guy that's willing to pay for it all as long as you sell the land for $1. And people are putting on there, well, buy this chunk for $195 or buy this chunk for $185 or $145 or... See, that's where it doesn't work. And they're allowed to do it. I don't believe anybody bitched when the city got it. Kind of like what's going on with the campus. There's a lot of people uproar about that, but there's a lot of buildings that need a lot of work. And we don't want to pay for the upkeep of that. We don't want to pay for, look at all the referendums for schools and that kind of stuff. No, we're not going to take that. No, because our taxes, no, we don't want to do that. It's kind of just how things go. As they age, we have to take care of them. If you didn't take care of your house for all these years, why are these people that are having such a problem with Story Field? Why aren't you at city council and them talking about the houses that have grass all the way up to their roof? They got storage containers stacked onto their porches and plumb full holding the porch up. Or all the tractors, or all the garbage, or all the shit laying around. Why aren't you having those kind of fits if you're so worried about green space? Why aren't somebody worried about their place up north on 80 that's full of junk and everything else next to the river that I guarantee you is seeping into the waterway? Or the big dairy farms that are spreading shit everywhere, contaminating water. I guarantee it, because I've seen the prime proof of it laying in huge puddles out in the fields waiting to absorb. Where is it going to go? I sold a house in Gotham when my mom passed, and the well didn't pass because it was contaminated with fecal. Well, gee, I wonder where that came from. I wonder how the water gets contaminated. Has anybody tested the water? Has anybody paid for testing to make sure their water is safe to drink? And then we're starting to see all this medical stuff show up. Why we're seeing spikes in all of these other things. Then we have somebody that gets online that says acetaminophen is causing autism. Really? And then we have also people that are not taking advice for anything, and they don't believe in COVID. They don't believe in, Chris, it's just an over-exaggeration of the flu and whatever. How do we know that? Because we don't have years and years behind us to understand that. And maybe I'm the crazy one. I don't know. And that's okay if you think so. That's fine. But I'm trying to figure out, where is it because it affects you that now you're going to go after full boat? Such as the Story Field, that I guess they're having a meeting tonight for city council that all of a sudden is ambushing people, and they're pissed off because they think everybody's doing this in secret. Or with the county, they're doing things in secret. They're doing all of this stuff, kind of like when they hired the new administrator. They did this, they did that. Or what happened with the ambulance crew is everybody's all of a sudden jumping on board and having a fit. And nobody knows the real story. Nobody wants to listen to the real story. Because if it affects them, they start yelling and screaming, just like the guy did at the school board, instead of saying, hey, I have a question. What is your thoughts? Here's what I see. Can you tell me what you see? Instead, we yell, scream, rant, and rave, flip people off, and shut our ears. That's a problem. Still haven't figured it out. Kind of like when we were talking about ATVs and everything else and using the trail, the bike trail is because bikers would be pissed off and you just can't do it. Here's one of the problems that happens everywhere, and people laugh about it all the time, is four-wheelers, ATVs, everywhere else. If you open the bike trail, 90% of the people will abide by the rule. It's the 10% that'll frick you every time, because they'll be off the trail, down into the river bottoms, up and over, mud and doing all that. Oh, no, Chris, they wouldn't do that. Or they'll be in Twin Bluffs right at the intersections doing donuts, doing whatever it may be. That will happen. Because it's just how it is. Look at the people that are running their four-wheelers through town, or their two-stroke dirt bikes into town and flying around or across the golf course, doing all that shit. Yeah, it happens. Because they don't respect the law. They don't respect the rules. They don't respect what could happen. Snowmobiles, same reason. Open trails, fly all over people's fields. The Alliance pays for all the field damage. They do everything else because of lack of respect. They're riding too hard, whatever it may be. Lack of respect. And they tear things up, and they give two shits. And why is it? Probably because of the way they were raised. That's what I'm guessing. Probably of who, if you look back in their family tree, probably has been going on for a while. And there is no gray area for me. It's all black and white. I don't live in a gray area. Because I don't tolerate people that don't want to listen and have a decent conversation. If it isn't their way, they don't get their way, they start to fight, they start to yell, they start to scream, and their ears shut off because you're not doing what I want. Sound familiar? Yeah. I think we're seeing more and more of it every day. So that's all I got for today. Thank you for turning into the mop. I truly appreciate it. And you're always free to welcome comments and everywhere else if you want to. But I thank you for tuning in. But we need to get back in control of our emotions, back in control to work through things and talk through things. And hear both sides and be open to compromise to both sides. No name calling, none of that, just plain open. The one thing I've never heard yet from the right is, yeah, this guy's lost it. There's some things that he has just lost it on. Instead, they divert it to the left. Kind of like the left. They don't want to admit some things are wrong. See, that's the problem. That's why I'm an independent, is because both sides fight their way through it. They want to yell, rant, rave. There's no need for it. Talk through it. Figure it out. Compromise. And compromise, I'm not saying, oh, we'll do this and give everybody. No, it still needs to come out to where you are working for the American people. And you are wanting to see people succeed. And you are not to label people and then just go with it and cause and poke the bear. That's where I'm at. So, everybody have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the great weather. We all know it's going to change at some point. Thanks for tuning into the mop. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition. And as always, take time to bless somebody. You never know when you may be that ray of light for them.